Ever had a vulnerability hangover? I have, and it lasted for several days, full of grief, angst, and fear. And it wasn't until my spiritual director reminded me that I could take it to the canvas that I was able to work my way through it. I had completely forgotten that this would help me.
G'day, my name is Shawler and I'm a creative who paints and writes fiction. I invite you to experience this soul-deep painting and immerse yourself in contemplating beauty while hearing the story behind it and while viewing the painting. Soul Deep is my free gift to you.
As a human being, and as an Enneagram 4, my emotions are strong and intense. I was also hung up on this painting that I wanted to start, but it was too big and I felt very clouded on the concept that I wanted to explore. And so I neglected the canvas, not wanting to waste it on something else other than this big painting idea. But thanks to my spiritual director, we now have this painting right here.
And so I painted. The first colours I was drawn to were fluorescents, which are fugitive colours, that is, they fade with the light. I didn't understand why until I was pulling photos of past paintings to put in a portfolio and came across Hallelujah Anyway, a painting about resurrection created after my father died. They were the first layers in that painting too. I dragged my hands down the canvas, feeling the weight, the heaviness of sorrow, of tears already shed. They gave permission for more tears to come. Another wave of grief came along, a decision I was left out of. I stood in front of the canvas again, in my pajamas, songs going through my mind, like Never Be Enough from The Greatest Showman and I Wish from Into the Woods, and one more song whose lyrics I couldn't remember. And the tears came as I swirled high-flow sepia ink across the canvas. This painting and the journaling I did afterward helped me feel a bit better. And the next day, more tears upon the canvas, in magenta this time. And as I fell asleep that night, I received a vision of the final painting, the small figure of a woman outlined, with the rest of the canvas dark, except for vertical lines of light, scattered like the thinnest of tree trunks. 2 days later, my mother-in-law died, not of COVID definitely, but of old age and loneliness. We stayed with her body until the mortuary came and took her away. I watched the mortuary attendant, a young woman with the same strawberry red hair my mother-in-law had when she was younger. She gently wrapped her body in a white sheet. So gentle, so careful, such an honoring of this body. The next day I added teal, one of my favorite colors, to the canvas, and a figure appeared. Instead of a small figure as in my first idea or vision, she's central. But I did not want her to be alone, because she was now definitely my mother-in-law, and I wondered if 2 other figures would join her. A week later, and the painting had a name change. As I added the dark turquoise and framed the figures, adding in the lights I had seen in that initial vision, shrouds became beyond. The figures and the lights are heading beyond, to something. The need that I had that she was somewhere safe, somewhere beyond death. 5 days later, and I felt the painting should be done. But I wasn't getting that feeling, and I struggled with this over the next few days. Was it not done because my grief was not done? Was it that it was too dark? Was it that I had taken the vision and run with it and used it as a distraction from actually processing my griefs? Where was that sense of completion? That sense of relief even? Was it exhaustion? This was month 11 of the pandemic when I painted this, after all. Maybe asking for a resolution at this point was just too much to ask. I seriously began considering repainting the entire thing. With my fingers, I traced over the bits of the painting I liked, bits of the background, the central figure, but the shrouds were too distracting. I looked at them instead of at the figure in the middle. They needed to go. I needed to try that before painting over the majority of the canvas and starting again. No matter what, though, I would protect that figure, carefully outline around her, even cover her with carefully cut out plastic as I rebuilt the layers around her. No matter what, she would be safe. So before I made the great leap to start over, I painted out the shrouds and added sprays of white stars. I stepped back and saw the painting was finished. I felt that sense of completion and relief. Going even darker and adding the sparks of white was what was needed. I thought about where this painting started with vulnerability, fear of the next transition, my mother-in-law's death, the wealth of uncertainty about, well, everything. This was the pandemic. Then the passing mark of 500,000 dead. While I worked on this painting, it felt like grief upon grief upon grief. Each drip, each wash of color was a mourning, an honoring. The turquoise lends a great weight to the painting, the weight of grief, of course, and I kept adding more to the painting. It had felt like this darkness was holding down what needed to happen, which was to go into the beyond, to soar into ineffable beauty, hinted at in the outline around her body. What it ended up being was an acknowledgement of my grief, of all the griefs we carry with us. I didn't need to paint over it or have a do-over of my processing these griefs through art. This wasn't an emotion that could be painted out and tied up with a pretty bow. The grief remains. We are left behind that curtain of grief. But not the figure. She has the lights to lead her into the beyond. And even though it looks like she is alone on the canvas, she is also accompanied by thousands of stars, the ones who have gone before her in this terrible, terrible year.
I also realized that this woman that you see in the painting behind me is me. I'm going to undergo a major transition in the next year or so, moving across the Pacific Ocean back home. And it is also a complete uprooting and transplanting back into a land that is familiar to me, and it has radically changed over the last 20-something years since I've lived there. Here are some questions to consider. I have them in the description too, if you need to refer to them during this reflective part of the video. Have you had a vulnerability hangover? What memories does this painting stir in you? Where is the woman going? What are the lights for you? Who is the woman in this image for you? What if this woman is you? The question I want to ask you is this woman in the painting also you? Where is your story in this painting? So next I have a series of images of the painting to give you a chance to reflect and respond and to sit with this painting and see what it brings up for you. I would like you to take a few moments now to ground yourself and bring yourself into the present moment. And we're going to do that by taking just a few deep, solid breaths. So if you'd like to close your eyes, you may do that. Otherwise, let's get started. So we breathe in, hold it at the top, sigh it all out. Breathe in, hold it, and sigh it all out. Feel your body's weight against the couch or the chair or wherever you might be sitting. Breathe in, hold it at the top, sigh it out. Just becoming present to where you are right now.
What did you see? Share in the comments below. Did you find anything new?
Don't forget to subscribe and enable notifications when the next Soul Deep video goes live. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again soon on this Soul Deep journey.